Yeah, but I understand where that comes from. I mean, to be able to form a thought, even though it may be incorrect, you're forming a thought. That's incredible.
Yeah,
you know, at
very
times.
important.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And it takes years and interaction with therapists and doctors and other patients to really learn what not to say. Yeah. Because you're so excited to be able to say something. You know, I can say something. I mean, for years and years, all I wanted to after my injury, all I wanted to do was be accepted. All I wanted to do was matter to the world. All I wanted to do was to be able to commit an act that the world, that everyone else took seriously. Because I don't know, I just felt like nothing and nobody. I was just a statistic at that point. Yeah.
A body in a wheelchair.
Yep, and that's how you're seen. You know, you're not understood, whatever, and that's why, especially these days, I love interacting with people. I mean, I suppose we'll get into my play. I wrote a play about my brain injury.
Let's talk about that.
Sure. Well, I wrote a play called The Learning Man. Actually, with I have my creative partner Dave Mayhew, who's in Los Angeles right now at Entertainment Tonight. Da 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 da. They even have a song, and actually I had prepared all my accident poetry. I wrote lots of poetry at the different stages of recovery. I realize now I'd written all this poetry at the different stages of recovery, and I'd gotten it all together and edited it with my friend Doc Cody. And he came home from LA and said, "Hey, let's do something with this." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I wrote the play The Learning Man, telling the story of my accident and with poetry throughout my stages of recovery. Excuse me.
It's a one-man show?
Virtually. We're going to be having, of course, there are other people on stage. I'll let this little bit out of the bag. We're going to start the show as an inn, is what you call it in showbiz. When a show is coming to a new town, that's called an inn. And then, of course, when you leave, it's the out.
It's the Yes.
Yeah. And I swear to God, people are going to walk in the theater and look at their watches, because there's going to be brick wall. The legs, like the curtains on the side, are going to be all tied up. There's going to be a ghost light, which is what theaters have when they're empty. You have a ghost light downstage. You call it a ghost light. And people are going to look at their watches. They're going to say, "What's going on?" And then an inn.
When does this start?
Yeah, exactly. We're in the right theater. Yeah, exactly. But then an inn is going to start, and then the sound of the truck backing up, and stagehand voices, and all that sort of thing. Yep. And then we're going to start moving in and pushing cases across the stage, and part of the show, because it is a multimedia show, is that we hang these screens. We're going to have video images, actually. Actually, they're probably going to be shot from behind on these digital video images. And so we're going to be doing this and then I'm just going to kind of walk down stage and go into the play. That's how it's going to begin. So that's interesting.
Okay. You hope to produce it one day?
Yep. Actually, we had funding last year that went away when the economic crash happened. Yep. Actually, it's all about family, I'm telling you. Dr. John Adams, or Randy, as we call him, John Randall Adams, he actually turned me on to a med school chum of his, Dr. June Beamer Patton, who married George Patton's grandson.
Okay.
The George Patton.
Right.
They even had a movie about him. And she actually had put some funding together out in Riverside, California. They were all Riverside Republicans. And then just before the crash happened, I got a phone call that said, "Hey, Alan, instead of being in Long Beach doing your play this winter, you'll be shoveling snow again." And I said, "Huh?" But of course, it really forced a lot of perspective on my play, and then I went and changed a lot more. And of course, now my father has died of a brain injury, so I've added more to the play about that. And actually, my father was in Elliott Hospital in Manchester, and I took my little cell phone, which has a great camera, and took pictures of my dad in the hospital bed. And we're probably going to morph pictures of me and him together.
So there's still a lot going on before that play crosses the boards, maybe.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Not too much further, actually. Frankly, being involved in the Nutcracker has just made me realize exactly really who I am. When you experience something like I experienced, you have a lot of esteem issues, let's say, where you don't maybe feel so whole or so good or whatnot, you know. And being involved in this and just being who I am and doing what I am, people seem to really like it. And it's kind of nice.
What about your day? Are you still when do you know when your brain is tired? Is it like your body? Your body gets tired?
Yeah, I don't necessarily know when I'm tired. A long time ago, that moment before you're asleep, or when that moment between consciousness and unconsciousness, that's when my PTSD would come, and I'd get images. Like if I'd seen anyone fall on television.
Ooh, I'm
like,
sure.
Like it took me years to say they're going to fall on airbags. They got paid a lot
It's
for this.
okay.
The stuntmen got paid well for that day. You know, understand that.
Yeah.
But for instance, actually, we were watching a film. Actually, my partner Dave and I were watching a film about made by these two French blokes who were in New York on September 11th, making a film about the fire company that was actually down the street from the World Trade Center.
Wow.
So all of a sudden, and they ran to the World Trade Center, you know, these two French blokes, and started filming, and they're in the second tower or whatever, and the first tower, of course, is collapsing, and the people are jumping out, and they're hitting the glass roof outside the lobby of the second one. And as soon as, I didn't even know, as soon as they hit, I knew what that was. And I'm like, I just kind of, I'm going to the kitchen to get some coffee, you know, sort of thing. I didn't need to see that right then. Yeah.
Done that. Yeah.
And I'll be there again and again and again. Welcome to trauma.
I imagine. All along. Yeah. So it brings us to your current endeavor, which is Herr Dr. Drosselmeyer in the Nutcracker.
Yep.
Now, you were a young lad when you were in the Nutcracker. How did you and Idra connect? And she was dancing with the ballet then as a prima ballerina.
Indeed. Yep.
And then how did you find each other this year?
Well, last year, actually, I was playing at a benefit for a 3-year-old who had triple E, and went out of the country and got stem cell work done, and it cured her.
Oh.
And so I'm playing at this benefit, and Lissa Silk, who right now is Miss Stafford County in New Hampshire, and an instructor for Idra, we met and started talking and ballet, and oh, wow, great, and oh, Idra Toth, and I know that name, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And we tried to get together last year, but because of the weather, it never happened. And actually this year, probably 3 or 4 days after my father died, actually, Idra emailed me out of the blue and said, come play Drosselmeyer this winter. And I said,
Now, how did she know how you looked?
Well, I'd given her my website. She looked at my website information.
Okay, and she thought you might be the...
Yep, and we have a YouTube link on my website, so you can see that I can walk and talk at the same time.
And so you're coming up from Manchester to play Uncle Drosselmeyer. Now, how do you feel about it? How is it going? And how is...
Well, it's going very well, actually. Idra has
in the role?
Yep. I'm very comfortable with it because it is a rebel part. He is outside normal society, which is how I feel. Which is how I feel being a trauma survivor. You know, all of us do, I'm sure.
How do you interpret him? He's kind of a character, isn't he, in the ballet?
He can be. Yep.
Is he a I've never quite understood. Is he a relative? Is he?
Yep. He's
to the family and invited to their home.
Yep. I imagine he is Clara's, who is of course the main character, the main female character. He is her uncle. He really is an uncle. Yeah, and she is his favorite niece.
Okay.
And actually, in rehearsal here, I asked Idra if we could have Laura, one of the girls, playing. Laura and Molly are playing Clara. If Laura could come in and we could just have one day together anyway to talk about writing backstory. I mean, I of course come to the ballet from the acting perspective, where it is about backstory and personal relationships, and you have to get to know the cast. You know, if you're going to be on stage together, It's important to know how
To
these
feel
people...
comfortable with one
Exactly,
another
exactly.
as a person.
Exactly. I mean, you have to be able to equal the kind of trust that you gain as a